for next Wednesday.
Okay. Good man. Now, as you can see, having stirred up all the trouble that he possibly can, he's buggering off. So Stuart is now going off to catch a train to Edinburgh. We wish you well in Edinburgh. I hope that it's decent weather like this, Stuart, because Edinburgh can be a very, very pleasant city in nice weather. So have a good time. How long are you away?
Oh, about 4 days.
4 days in Edinburgh. Goodness gracious me. And he'll hit every pub that he possibly can.
You don't know that.
We don't know that. But we pure speculation and guessing, and not a bad guess. See you next week.
Yeah, take care.
Take care. Okay, so it's left now to Max and I, and mostly Max, because we're giving him airtime here to be our the host, and here he is.
Hello.
Is Max Hurd, who's going to raise the issues that he thinks are important in our society today.
Well, a good intro. I like that. The important questions in society doesn't really reflect my first choice of an article I have here. So I have here from, what paper is this? The Daily Mail. Midwives are being taught that men can give birth. Have you seen this?
No, indeed, I have not.
Well, it's getting pretty ridiculous at this point. Men can give birth just like women can, apparently.
Ooh. I remember going into one of the sort of Chamber of Horrors or something in London when I was very little, and they had an exhibition showing a man giving birth, and that was supposed to be a horrific thing. How times change.
So Calvin Klein have recently been in a little bit of trouble. Not trouble, but controversy, because they had this promotional photo. I'll try to show you as best as I can. I don't know if you can see this. This is a pregnant man as a model for Calvin Klein, because he's going to give birth. This man is.
Calvin Klein have already picked up on this, have they?
Yep, that's the model. Pregnant man.
Goodness gracious me. I mean, I think that these things are a flash in the pan. But then again, a lot of things that I thought that are a flash in the pan and actually have grabbed hold because of the very liberal view that our society takes about an awful lot of things.
My generation seems to be taking it a little bit too far. They are just completely ignoring the biological fact that men do not have uteruses, and saying that men can give birth just like women can. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I think to encourage it is wrong anyway. But those are the forces that we have in our society at the moment, is to try and equalize everything, which is completely and utterly impossible. I mean, the first thing is we'd have to hack off every male penis just to make men and women.
You have to clarify that now, male penis. You do have to clarify that, actually.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that. I do understand that there are people who have females who do have a penis, but you better tell me what you expect me to clarify.
No, well,
yeah, I think generally speaking it's accepted that the difference between man and woman are the genitals, and that although some are malformed, it is very rare that a man would be born with genitalia that would permit him, as you say, with the uterus and so on.
It's extremely rare, and only ever really happens in third world countries where there are issues with birth. Usually, like places in Asia, this happens a lot.
Right. But your argument is that this is a bit ridiculous that midwives are being taught that men can give birth.
Yeah, because I'm going to say something controversial, apparently, now. This man who's giving birth, it's not a man, it's a woman with a beard. That's a controversial thing to say. It really is. It's just a woman with a beard.
A very astute thing to say, if you ask me. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
But you see, I can get in trouble for things like that
Yeah.
these days.
Isn't it also a problem in athletics, for instance, where some transgender people have switched from male to female, and then their opponents get all excited when they actually win.
So there was a recent one, a swimmer, Leah Thomas. He was a swimmer for UCLA. He was throughout all the colleges in America, he was 250 or something out of the best swimmers, and he changed his gender, didn't even get a sex change, he just said he was a woman, competed in the females swimming team, and immediately came first. Broke world record on one of his first attempts.
Yeah. So it really does speak volumes, does it not?
People try to ignore the biological factor that men and women are physically different.
Yes.
This is a fact of nature. Even when you look at anything from like bugs even to dogs, cats, anywhere in nature, the females and males are different. There are some rare species of like frogs that can change their gender or something, or self-impregnate.
But they are rare.
Yes.
Yes, they're not commonplace.
Yeah.
So I must confess is that I think that the idea of the one area that I don't like is the black widow spider, who apparently after the male has impregnated the female, she then eats him.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's most spiders, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah. Not just the black widow?
No. Well, we actually get a lot of false widows around my house where I live. For whatever reason, we get them in the house sometimes. One year we had an infestation of them. That was bad. I've never been bitten one, but I've been bitten by spiders, and they hurt like hell. We get black widows in this country, sort of. They're called false widows. They're black widows, just poisonous, but God, do they bite.
Well, I can well imagine. I don't like being bitten by anything.
No.
To be honest with you. Right. Okay, carry on.
So I'll have a look for some more stories. But yeah, just midwives being taught that men can give birth. This isn't the first time we've seen this. We've seen this in the NHS. This was first started seeing this in the UK in Brighton, actually. One of the most liberal cities in the world. We started seeing this in Brighton, that the NHS were making you refer to pregnant women as birthing people. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
Birthing people. To be gender inclusive to the men who get pregnant.
Oh, for God's sake. We're going back and ripping the English language apart now again. Yeah. It defeats me. And the trouble is that the number of people who would do this would be very, very limited number of people, but their influence becomes huge. They seem to be able have the ability to terrify the rest of us into doing what the hell they want.
Yeah.
What was that again? Birthing that?
So birthing people. There were two others. Pregnant bodies was another one that was used. Okay, that's odd. That was a very quick phone call. There was something else I can't remember. I'll have to look it up in a minute.
Yeah. So birthing anyway is
birthing people.
God help us.
Because you need to respect the men that give birth. What I don't want to talk about it too much, but I'll briefly mention it. What I do find funny is one of the arguments against abortion is men shouldn't be allowed to choose for women's bodies, should they? I understand where that argument's coming from, but now men can give birth, so men should have a say. Yeah. So they've kind of shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. Their argument is designed to suit whatever they want to propose or propagate at any given time. Indeed, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
So what else have we got in here? Oh yeah. I saw this recently. This isn't in the papers. Wasn't really covered a whole lot, but what was the original name of the 10-year-old boy in the 90s who killed a 3-year-old and put him on a train track? There were two boys.
Yeah.
It was like the biggest story of the entire
Jamie
world.
Bolger was the name of the little boy.
Jamie Bolger.
Who was murdered, yeah.
And
I've forgotten the names of the two boys.
Yeah. Well, one of them, they're talking about not giving him another fake identity because the government keeps giving him fake identities and he keeps releasing his names. So he'll start a new life. He'll get drunk or high and then say to his friends, actually, guess who I am? I am Stephen something.
Right.
And then immediately gets turned on and has to have a whole new identity. He's had 6 different identities now. He obviously got arrested for his original thing of killing a 3-year-old, which is awful. At 10 years old, that's horrific.
Yeah.
But he's been in prison for that and has been in prison twice for child porn and is being released again, and they're debating on whether they should or shouldn't give him a fake identity.
Yeah.
But then the debate is, well, if we don't give him a fake identity, he's going to immediately be murdered, which he will. He will be immediately killed.
So then we have to face the question: is do we contribute to the murder of this man?
Yes.
By removing his protection.
But
there were 2 of them, weren't there? What was the other one?
The other one has stayed quiet. The other one's got a new identity, hasn't had a new one. He's just...
We don't know where he is
No.
or what he's at. Right.
We don't know his current name.
Yeah.
Current face even, I don't think. But yeah, the other guy, 6 different identities and has been arrested twice for child porn.
Right.
And then originally for the first one, first offense of killing a child. And he's being released again. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, but again, if they don't give him a name, he's going to die. He's going to get murdered. But should we really be giving him? Should we really wasting our money every single time he decides to get drunk? We shouldn't. But then he's murdered. Well, to be honest, I don't particularly mind. I don't really care. He was an awful human being, and still is. He's still alive.
Right, let's just take a little break. We'll go down to our favorite park. Right, here we are, back. Max Hurd, Heath Hayes, Mirador Television. It is now 1 minute past 10 o'clock. We are broadcasting from the White Hart. Outside, it's going to be a lovely day today. It's going to reach 21, which is the warmest that we've certainly recorded on Mirador. That is going to be all day with scattered cloud, but very light breeze. All in all, until quite late tonight, no chance of rain. So a lovely, lovely day. We are chatting about anything that comes to mind that seems to be pertinent to how our society is living today, because we live in very troublesome times. And there are a lot of things which need dissecting. But this is Max's show, so back over to him.
Right. So I have a good question for you about the media. Today, the media is very divisive. They lie a lot. Have they always been the way they have today?
Well, yes and no. I think.
Have they always been this way and we just didn't know until the internet era?
Yeah, there is a tendency today because a lot of so I'm reliably informed, is particularly with Fleet Street journalism. It's not on Fleet Street anymore, but we still refer to it, the national press, as Fleet Street. Is that a lot of youngsters come in and they start off on the night shift, and on the night shift it's very easy to just rip and read. In other words, go onto the internet. And now, the issue of fake news has been very, very much in the headlines, in the forefront. When I was in mainstream journalism in the 80s and the 90s, it was quite simple. If there was something that you had any doubt about whatsoever, or that you couldn't confirm the source straight away, is that what you did was you got 3 different source confirmations. You went to make sure that the story was right. That doesn't take place anymore, so I'm told, and there's a lot of reliance upon third-party stuff which comes in through the internet, and yet the newspapers and the media are the first to say, watch out for fake news in the internet. But we tend to accept it when it suits us, I suppose. But one of the things about journalism, pointed out by Andrew Marr in his excellent book on the history of journalism, is that in this country, a truly straight down the middle, non-biased media is a myth. Not modern newspapers, but newspapers in many ways started when printing was permissible and was developed. And things in Charles I's time would be anti-monarchist. So the early journalists would take a bill which might say, get rid of the king is evil, or whatever, something similar like that. And they would hammer it up on a post and run like hell, because if they were caught by the king's men, it was summary justice, off with their heads. That was it. We don't want to engage in any debate. So the bias of media from its very source started. And that's why we have a wide range of newspapers from the Telegraph across to the Star. Although the Star is amusing rather than political. Let's say the Daily Worker. We've got a whole range of papers which take separate views. And in fact, when we reviewed the headlines this morning, there was one which said that Boris is trying hard to help the economy by cutting income tax and so on and so forth, getting Sunak to do that. And then there was another headline sort of saying, the Tories try to cover up what they're doing, and it's all a bit naughty. The second, so you've got a balanced view of 2 separate organisations seeing things in a different way.
If you read both, then you got it's a bit more balanced, I suppose. But they just seem to be so blatant recently about lying. They just, especially I noticed this sort of when COVID first hit, that they started talking about it as if it was this world-ending disease, and it just wasn't. Even at the time, everyone sort of knew it wasn't. but the media were just like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things that I think that we need to be very careful about is when times get tough, the first budget, never mind media, anything, the first budget that goes is training. You cut the training budget because essentially it does not generate revenue. It's an internal, in-house static thing, if you like. And I think that because of the uproar over the last 6 years, what we've done is we've seen companies cut training. Now you can see that in stores. Quite often people who aren't trained, they don't come and ask if they can help you or whatever. In other stores, you can tell when they're well trained because they'll come up to you and sort of say, do you need any help here? Can I give you a hand and that sort of thing? So training is cut, and training in media has been cut, and as a consequence, it's all very well. I mean, what we're doing with you is throwing you in at the deep end. The only thing is that along the way, we're giving you some training, and by working with people like Stuart and myself and Andrew and so on, is you get the feel for what professionals do and how they do it. By the same token, we're giving you your head. Is you can say what you like in when you're hosting this show, and indeed you do. And all I would say is one of the learning curves that you have to go through is if you make a statement, you've got to be able to back it up. Right. Which is exactly what you're complaining about with media. Is they make statements and don't seem to be able to back it up. That's the key. Can you back it up?
Most of the time, yeah. But one of the things I definitely need to get better at is being quicker with responses as well, and quicker with backing things up. Because I get an idea in my head and I can't get it out properly. I start thinking about it, and then it just goes.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, go with the flow.
Yeah.
Don't try to alter your personality to what you think a broadcaster should do, because you can develop your own unique style. I agree with you. I mean, I feel envy of those people who give a very, very quick repartee, come back like that. I can't do that. Never have been able to. And to be quite honest with you, I've never felt guilty because I can't. Having said that, I think that I always try hard to give a balanced point of view.
I mean, obviously, we're all biased no matter what. People, if you ever watch the news and they say this is an unbiased source, they are 100% lying to you. Everyone has their biases.
Everybody has a bias.
Everyone has a bias. Like I wouldn't have shown you this today. I wouldn't have been. So this one about men getting pregnant, I had a view on that. It's opinion, but if I was so we talk about that in a negative way because men can't get pregnant, obviously. But if you were to go watch Pink News, for example, they would tell you the exact opposite, that men can get pregnant, and it's stunning and brave.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we have to accept that that's one of the facts of life. Yeah. Where, in fact, there is no argument is in those countries where there's an authoritarian regime. And basically, editors are selected because what they do is they tend towards reporting what the authoritarian leader is. So that's the president or
so something like some sort of outlet like RT.
RT is very interesting because, as you know, I've got a very close relationship with RT, and RT started. I think we imbued them with it's my version of independent reporting. That you report as accurately as you possibly can. That certainly disappeared over the years. I think we can now see why, because it is funded by the Kremlin. And as the Kremlin got more strident about taking over Ukraine, Ukraine, but Crimea, and other
Well, hang on.
old Soviet countries.
Here's the thing: just because they fund it, are they biased?
Who?
Because
The
the
Kremlin?
RT, because the Kremlin fund it. Because the government funds the BBC. So are they biased?
Yeah, actually, we're quite clever. The government doesn't fund the BBC. We do by paying a license.
Yeah, but that's government mandate.
Well, it's a government mandate, but you need a license to watch television. And indeed, you're quite right. And the BBC is supposed to be the mouthpiece for the government, but it's not, is it? Because the governments, no matter which party, are always yelling and screaming that the BBC should have some of its funding cut, it should be sold off and so on, because it isn't reflecting what we're doing. So in its own way, I suppose the BBC has got independence. But a lot of other media don't have an independent viewpoint that way. And they will follow whatever it is that their master does. I mean, Rupert Murdoch's The Chain is the most notorious. If it doesn't follow what Rupert wants. And in fact, in recent arguments, very interesting that papers like the Sun and television operations like Sky backed away from getting terribly involved in the debate. I mean, one of them is the Christmas cake fiasco. It's
I don't know that.
Well, you do. It's just my term for it. Is Boris eating a Christmas ice Christmas cake against COVID rules? Yeah, it was interesting that the Sun virtually never got involved in that debate. Presumably, the boss didn't want to be seen to be.
Who is the boss? Is it Rupert Murdoch?
Is Murdoch? That's right. Didn't want to be seen to be anti-government.
Who owns GB News? Is that also Rupert Murdoch?
No, it's not. I don't think. I forget who's financed that. It may be that it is.
It's a group of people, bunch of rich, obviously. Rich
yeah, well, Andrew Neil was one of the key moving factors, but he's moved away from it now.
Yeah.
I just last night.
He only did like a week's worth of work, went on holiday for 2 months, and then said, "Oh yeah, I quit. I don't like working here."
Yeah, I forget who that was, but I know you were actually. It was a true incident that you are referring to, and essentially he went on holiday for a couple of months and came back and said, "Terribly sorry, yeah, I'm not coming back." Mind you, that quite often happens in industry as well as media. Right. Okay. What else are we on to? What else have you got your beady little eye on there?
There isn't a whole lot. I started going towards the back, and it's all sports journalism. I know nothing about sports.
No, I mean I enjoy watching certain sports, but I don't know much. One of the things that is very true, though, and I think that one of the things that you and your fellow young journalists might start to listen to is sport is now a business. That much of what is written and decided about in sport is nothing to do with the actual. Did you kick the ball at goal? It's to do with transfers and ownership and shares and you name it. So sport has become very much big business, and the money that sloshes around. I mean, think of it. I just ballpark figure, but £50,000 a week for some young guy. That's his salary. Who has just joined the club and hasn't kicked a football in anger for them. And they made a deal that he's earning £20,000, £50,000 a week.
Well, actually,
that's frightening.
It was interesting with the football players. Everyone complains, "Oh, football players get paid so much." People complain about it. Oh, they shouldn't be paid as much. It's like, yeah, they should. If you think they're getting paid way too much, you become a footballer then. If you think it's so easy, they're clearly getting paid for a reason because of their top of their leagues and they're incredible athletes.
Yes, but it's the amount that were
Would they rather it went to
2.3 to 3.4 million pounds a year for?
Would they rather it went to the management then?
Well,
if not, that's where it would go.
Should that sort of money be sloshing around in a sport? Because you're bound then to see the bias of big money. You can't help it. I mean, put it this way: look at the money that is spent on making a movie in Hollywood, and nobody interferes with that movie until it comes out, and then everybody has a go at it, critically positive or not.
Or unless you accidentally shoot a cameraman and a producer on set.
Yeah. Well, one of the interesting things was it used to be said is whenever there was a new television program, an independent television, what would happen quite often is that the 2 o'clock in the morning, suddenly an obscene movie, a dirty movie, would appear on the screen, and it was that the technician had finished up and so on and so forth, and then it just flipped a switch, and this is what came up, and it was always said that was done deliberately to make sure that the paper got good publicity.
Well,
good morning.
Morning. Are you serving alcohol?
Yeah, if you see the reception, just through there, they should look after you. Yeah. What time is it? It's 20 past 10. It's a bit early even for you and I, but still, each to his own.
So I have this one here.
Okay.
The Queen rides the tube line. I don't know why this is news. So this is taken up 2 pages. She goes in the London Underground. This takes up 2 pages. You can't.
Right.
I don't know why this is.
What is the story? Explain the story to everybody.
So, the Queen went on the Elizabeth line. She rode the entire tube line. I'm assuming. Okay, so this is just okay. All right. So she's taken the tube, and this is taking up a whole 2 pages in the newspaper. I don't know why this is so important. I just thought it was funny that this is taking up 2 pages for.
Why did she take the tube ride?
A ceremonial thing. They just had renovations done, or I believe it's a new line. No, it's not a new line. They just had renovations done to it, so she took the tube. I don't know why that's news, but it is. I just thought it was funny.
I think that would be considered a picture feature. What are we going to take photographs of today? The Queen is going on a new extension of the Underground, something she wouldn't normally do. Let's go and take photographs because people would like to see it. I do understand why they're doing it. You're quite right, though. There's not much news about it. It's just one of those pretty things. Same as we play the odd thing here that is not newsworthy. It gives a little bit of a support and a jolt to what we're doing. Right, well, we're heading towards 25 past. Let's give you a break and let's let's see what we've
That's all. We've got some new short videos.
Right.
How long is this one?
Well, Ottoman we'll play in a little while. Let's play this promo because included in it, as I recall, are things which we did on Mirador in the past.
Okay.
And it's nice to give snapshots to remind
There's a
people of
promotional video for
what we
Mirador.
are. So that's how we'll take this break.
Next up, bottled poetry. All about wine tasting, and some information. For the next episode of Kathleen's Corner, the lovely Stephen has another issue he wants to discuss. Welcome to Mirador.
Give us back our town. Beer, wine.
So, thank you for joining.
Hey, Ellie, come on, give us a kiss. Come on.
Do admire the hanging gardens of Babylon on the way. They can't even cut that back properly.
Hello. At last I've caught you asleep.
You did hold up a Bible upside down, but you held it up.
Hey there.
Hello, my name is Leslie Hills and I paint portraits. They're sold for cancer research, and this Christmas Mirador Television are putting on a competition just for fun, and we'd like people to send in a self-portrait and also a photograph of themselves as well.
Don't run fire or not?
Are you working?
Are you taking a picture or are you filming?
I'm filming.
Oh no.
You're gonna have to work
I'm
now.
going.
Well, good morning. It's Keith Hayes at Priory Park in Lewis, standing or sitting by Jenry, our mascot.
Breaking news, November 1967. Carl Stokes elected mayor of the city of Cleveland, Ohio. The first black American man of color to be elected the mayor of a major.
Okay, we need to do a little bit of adjustment.
There we go.
Okie doke. We're back with the sound on. Yes. Interesting, Max, there looking back. Two things. One, we did a lot more outside in those days because we were new and we were well funded, and we could afford to go out with camera crews, which we can't at the moment, but we'll be getting back there shortly, hopefully. And the presenter there is a young lady, Annie Verrill, who's very talented. She opted not to carry on with her career in television, and we wish her well in whatever she's doing right now. But secondly, the programs were a bit more light-hearted than they are now. We tended to laugh and joke about how much we had to drink and so people actually would say to us, I mean, we got into their psyche often enough, is two things, because the signature of Annie Verrill and I were that we would fight like cat and dog on air. And people would say, do you really fight like that in real life, or is it all set up? Well, I'm not going to tell anybody.
Why did you argue about that?
Well,
did you
actually, we did it as a bit like you and I are not necessarily agreeing with one another on every issue, but we did it in a much more light-hearted way, in which she would call me the old man, and I would call her the boss, because she could be a bossy little thing, actually. But the other thing that we did in those days is we did we had a fair old team of people coming in, and bit by bit the team is slowly coming back together. You'll be pleased to know, and we. Fergus Wood did a proper wine program, as opposed to just joining us for a chat. Did a proper wine program a week ago. He wasn't available last week, and he's not going to be available next week. Although I think what I might do is to see if I can try and get him to change his slot. But it just shows how we were able to do good stuff, good programs, and we are getting back to that bit by bit. We're different.
Did the lockdown ruin a lot of this then?
Yes. I mean, there were, well, first of all, we were in a studio in which you couldn't have more than one person because of social distancing. We got absolutely no funding from anywhere. I mean, we couldn't sell advertisements or anything, and as a consequence, a lot of things had to go, and people also because they were locked in. I mean, like you come from Cookmere, is it?
Cookfield.
Sorry. Yeah, sir. Where are you from?
Cookfield.
Right. It's outside Lewis, and to travel in so that you couldn't go into the studio was a bit silly. So yes, it knocked the stuffing out of us, but we held on. We kept going, and that's the main thing. And I'm very proud of that.
Cookfield isn't too far from here. It's 18 minutes on the train.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right. Not too bad.
And 9 minutes on the bus
Right.
from Cookfield to the train station.
Okie dokie. Well, have you got anything else there that you're going to take a look at for the moment?
Well, after we were just talking about something, we needed to talk about something light-hearted.
All right.
I have here, £30 million were wasted by local councils.
That's light-hearted enough.
Light-hearted. It's only 30 million. It could have been worse. It could have been $500 billion.
I suppose it could have been, yeah. Give us the meat of the story. How are the key areas that they've wasted money in?
So this was a healthcare drive to get. It was a weight loss scheme. It doesn't say how many. Okay, it does here. It says 1,600 people were enrolled in this weight loss scheme for local councils, and of this £30 million, they had to use to get all these people. Hang on a minute. Does it say 15,000 referrals? Wow. Okay, my bad. Misread that badly. That doesn't say That doesn't say 1,500. It says 15,000 people were enrolled in this scheme for £30 million, and of the people, here, 220 people lost weight. So that means 14,800 people didn't lose any weight at all. This is saying here. Right. So this scheme failed miserably, and it seems like a lot of this went on salaries for people.
Right.
Is what I'm reading from here.
Yeah. So just in this area alone is the money misused or lost was how much again?
30 million.
Right.
£30 million, and I only got 220 people to lose any weight at all.
Right. Well, now it's stories like this that trigger somewhat deeper things, the things behind the news headlines. The reason that Mirador exists is partly because of the philosophy as expounded by Harvard University, which did a very, very detailed analysis, first of all in the United States, and then it's extended over here, of local media. Local television has been almost a non-starter in this country, so we're sort of a bit unique. There aren't too many small television stations like us. Local radio has been established, and local newspapers were established, and local, what do you call these things on a computer?
Live streams.
A page, yes, where you can you can express your opinion or put in bits and pieces. And what the Harvard Review found was that with the shrinkage, and there's been enormous shrinkage. I mean, if you think of the Sussex Express, which used to be on School Hill, I'm not sure where it is now, but it's certainly not in Lewes. So we don't have a Lewes newspaper to all intents and purposes. We have a little section of a newspaper that is regional, local, but it's gone. And what happens is when you have this shrinkage, local councils start, first of all, they put up the rate of a council tax. That goes to the maximum. And then you find that services are cut drastically. Now, without any bias whatsoever, the local Lewes District Council has borne that out in a big way. First of all, we always are bumping the top level of council tax. Secondly, we don't get the service that we do. In fact, now the council has gone from a very flourishing council just down the road here, no more than 200 yards away. It's not there anymore. It's gone. It's closed. And now Lewes District Council's administration comes from
Why is
Eastbourne.
it closed?
Supposedly to save money, and some silly councillors decided that they would merge the two councils, not politically, but as far as the administration was concerned. So we don't have any council here. We have no premises. If you want to go to the local council, you've got to go to Eastbourne, which is crazy. It is so mad, and it all happened within about a 4-year period, within one period. And there was nobody there, with the exception of us chickens, to say this is madness, stop it. So what I think is, and what I'm on a mission to do, is to rebuild local media. I don't care that we're having to start from almost scratch. The fact that this is television and we are rebuilding, but with all due respect to the local radio station, it's coming out of Eastbourne or New Haven, so it's not really truly local. The local paper doesn't come out of here anymore. So all in all, there is no local media as such, with the exception of us, and we're actually not really reflecting what goes on in this community the way that we should. We'll get there, but we aren't. So the Harvard Review is absolutely right, because council taxes are high. Services are crazy. If you want to report a pothole outside, right on the main street, and you phone the number given on the website, the answer is, can you tell me? I don't know, Lewis, because I live in Eastbourne and I'm based in Eastbourne. So can you tell me exactly what you're talking about? Oh, this is in the main street and it's stopping traffic going, direction. Oh, well, we'll put you through to whoever is in charge of this. It's crazy. It is the craziest. It's talk about Alice through the looking glass. That's what it is. It is, let's serve the people, but then let's not live amongst them. Let's not be part of them. Absolutely craziness. And of course, these things are very difficult to reverse when they are done. That's unfortunately the way it is. Right, okay. 10:38. No, you raised a very good one there, because it gave me a chance to remind people of the situation that we have here. It's just absolutely bloody crazy. You say you don't understand things to some extent. I don't understand them either. And how the thinking goes is so twisted and black is white and truth is lies, etc., etc. So there we are. Right, let's take another little break with whatever we've got here to play. I said that we had something here. This is a sort of 6 or 7 minutes. Our Lady in Hastings is a dab hand whiz at putting things back together again that are broken, and she's the one on the fixing of an ottoman. So let's just watch that for a little while and see how people with the talent for fixing things gets on with it.
Okay. Oh, thought we were paused.
Your
device is having trouble.
Now this played the other day, and I really don't understand what's going on with StreamYard. This is just absolute rubbish. We played it, and now we can't play it, and this is getting me very upset with this system. It's not going to let us play that. How silly can you get? And not only that, but I played it through here, so the coding would be right. All right, let's see what else that we've got.
We just did that one.
Sorry,
we just
did that one. Let's. Well, this is the one that wouldn't play, I think.
It is. Maybe you have to remove this.
Maybe.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I don't think it. Oh, here we go. Oh, there. Jane gets crafty. Good.
Okay, so I've tipped the box onto its side, and the first thing I want to do is remove that screw from the corner where the leg was. It was obviously attached. It was fixed in the leg in place. Here's the broken leg, which can go on, and as you can see, somehow someone's probably tipped it on its side and it's snapped off some of the wood. But there's enough of the corner, there's enough of the leg left for me to put that back on. So, and then at some point I'll try and find some colour match gold just to do the inside. But when it's upright, the good thing is the corner is still intact. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of that screw, because now it's obviously completely bent. It was holding the leg on, and is absolutely no use right now. Okay, I've taken the screw out. It has actually snapped in the process, but that's okay because it's flat now. I've sanded down the leg, and I've sanded down this corner to get rid of any residue glue, and now I'm going to glue that back in place, and then I have to tip the box upright and leave it for quite a few hours to stick. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to have to nail it from the inside, screw it from the inside. I've now turned the box up the right way so that the weight of the box, hopefully, as its own clamp. I pretty well got it in place in line with the other corner. I'm going to leave it. See, as you can see, the back, it's broken. Anyway, I'm going to leave it overnight and hope that that will stay put. And if not, I'm going to have to put a little screw in it from the inside. So while that's getting back together, I'm going to take off the top fabric. Right, so I've taken all the fabric off. I've just got to go around with my tool and get rid of these very nasty, rusty staples. I just need to pull those out. And I'm going to keep hold of the fabric at the moment. As you can see, it's pretty dirty. But I'll keep hold of it at the moment as a template for the top. I will change the foam as well because it needs to be fire retardant now, and it's probably had its day. So I have this handy little tool that's to remove tacks and staples. So if you just push it up, let's see if I can get it out with one hand, and just pull out. Ta-da! Just turn them a bit, and out they pop. So I've just got to go around the back because there's a few around the back, and then the edge. It's in pretty good condition. It doesn't look like it's had too many tack holes, because often things get reupholstered, recovered, and it end up with more holes than wood sometimes. Come on, out you come. Right, so out of a little bit of spare fabric, I've just stitched this together, turned it inside out, and tacked that on as a handle to lift the lid, because it's actually quite heavy. And then when you're not using it, I'll just tuck it inside because it's not meant to really be there. So it's pretty well done. All I have to do now is attach the gimp, which I have here. I've just got to go around and cover the tacks all the way around with that, which I probably will part glue it, part tack it on. And it's done. I'm really pleased. I've glued on the gimp. The best thing to do with this is to start at the back. I didn't show you the back. It's got this lovely plaited back. So I've started here and then worked my way around, because obviously you don't want the join at the front. So I've just simply gone around with the glue, pushed it all in place, and now I'm just going to leave it to dry. So it's been absolutely transformed and back into a usable box. I've glued the leg back on, like I said was missing Well, not missing, but so that's in place. There's a tiny bit missing from the wood, but I'm not too bothered really. At some point I will find a tiny bit of gold to glue it, but I think it's fine. And as I said before, it's the original leg, so I wanted to leave it on. And there you have it. A little handle to lift the lid when it gets when it's full.
Right, we're on mute.
We haven't got a microphone, so there I was beating my gums, as the Jamaicans would say, to no good effect. In other words, nobody could hear me. Cloth ears. We've got a lovely Sharon back in here. She pops in and out, and it's a great joy. She beams at us with a beautiful smile and really makes the day whiz by. It's fantastic. Yeah. And she'll do the same for you if you come into the White Hart for a coffee or a glass of wine. Now, we were just talking about the fact that we've got a Crown Court across the road. And from time to time, we get people in here having a drink alongside us when they're waiting to go over there. And it gave us the reason to just start to talk a little bit about law and order, which has in many ways started to fall apart. A lady called Cressida Dick, who was the head of the Scotland Yard, she's has she actually been thrown out yet?
I think she gave her notice in like, oh, I'm gonna quit, and everyone was like, yay! But notice like I'm gonna quit in 6 months. I think she's still in. I think she's still in actually.
She's still in charge. Yeah.
I haven't seen anything about her recently.
No, I haven't.
And I haven't seen anything about the new Scotland Yard. I don't know. Maybe she's just trying to keep quiet for our last month or two.
Well, that could be. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people do that, or they want to go out with a bang, and
I would go out with a bang.
Big initiative in. Right. Let's just give a little bit of update. It is now 10:50. In other words, 10 to 11. And it is going to reach 21 outside. A light scattering of cloud, a gentle breeze. So generally speaking, a pretty nice day. And we don't look as if we're going to have anything to do with rain until coming up to late evening this evening.
It's 18 degrees right now.
It's 18 right now.
Yeah,
they are 18 and climbing up towards 20. So we're early morning, 10:50, mid-morning, and we are Mirador Television, and we broadcast out of Lewes in East Sussex, out of the White Hart Hotel, and if you want to hear anything about anything, this is the station to tune into, as we don't care what we talk about, as long as we actually don't like the wags, like Mrs. Rooney and Mrs. Vardy don't actually create any sort of naughtiness when it comes to libeling anybody. Boy, are those ladies, and now it appears that they're in the headlines again today because their husbands, two very well-known footballers, apparently also had words. So there we are. Right, Max, what else have you got for us here?
I am looking at unemployment because apparently it's at the lowest point in 50 years.
Really? So inflation at the highest point in 20 and
employment at the lowest in 50.
The lowest yeah.
So hang on a minute.
Now, most governments would be thrilled that they got such low employment, but even Stuart Dolby, ex-FT journalist, couldn't explain the headline in the FT, which says that the full employment adds to inflationary pressures. I don't quite understand that.
Full employment, what?
Adds to inflationary pressure.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense to
because there would be more people paying taxes. I don't know. This is speculation here, but tell me what you think. I don't think the government really cares and isn't going to do a whole lot about inflation because they're in a lot of debt right now, right?
Right.
As inflation goes up, the money becomes worth less and less.
Mm-hmm.
They're in so much debt that I don't think they're going to be in a rush to sort it out anytime soon, so they can pay their debts off cheaper.
Well,
it's speculation, but I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah. But the distaff side of that is that as inflation kicks in, the one way that you actually curb it is by increasing interest rates. So borrowing money will become more expensive. So while your theory, on the one hand, is not a bad one, and it may well be that it certainly has some input, also inflation can be a killer because I mean, for instance, you want to buy a car, you go to the bank and you say, I want to buy some money, and they say, okay, how much? And you say £500, and the bank says, right, well, the current rate of we lend at with all the miscalculations and so on is for that £500, it will cost you £170, which you pay in the instalments. Yeah, a lot. But if interest rates rise, that £150, £170 is then going to rise to £200. So the cost of borrowing money. Now, our governments borrow money left, right, and centre. They borrow like water. So it may be that there would have to be, with that sort of philosophy that you just expounded. Not saying it's wrong. What I'm saying is that there is a counterbalance to it. Yeah. Okay, where you go. How is full employment? How does it come about? Does the article say?
Probably, but it's going to take me a second.
That's where that's good for research. Very good for research.
So unemployment is at 3.7%. So 3.7% of the population is unemployed.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Well, it is, but remember that out of that, you also got people who perhaps just entering the workforce, never had a job before.
So like me in 7 weeks, I'm going to be out of college and I'm going to be unemployed.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's not the end of
you're not counted.
It's not the end of the school year yet, so that wouldn't even account for people like me.
No, that's right.
So that will go up in 10 weeks. Yeah. I reckon it'll jump a lot.
Also, be careful that you don't actually do the percentage of the entire population, because the entire population count is, I can't remember when we started the census, but the entire population will be from the age 4 to probably the age 94. So what you have to do is, to both ends of the spectrum, is block out certain numbers. So it's not quite as bad, not quite as heavy unemployment figure as you think.
Yeah. Apparently, when China had its birth problem and they had a bunch of retired people and not enough young people, that's what it's looking like it's going to happen for us. What do you think of that?
Well, yes and no. I mean, the Chinese, their whole labour market is on the basis that they use child labour. That they quite often they don't have unions looking after. There's no minimum wage, is it's a bowl of rice or nothing. Takeovers, somebody can march along and just pay a bribe to the local mayor or whatever, and they can knock a factory down or a house or whatever to make way for expansion. So their internal economic factors aren't the same as our own. So yes, some influences. I mean, mass marketing.
Well, we do have a major declining birth rate in this country, which no one is talking about.
No, it's strange that.
Strange, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a declining birth rate, but a growing population, which is also strange.
Well, of course, one of the things that we haven't talked about on this program for quite some time is immigration. And it still is a very hot issue. They're still flooding in, despite the idea of sending
them to
Rwanda. And I read somewhere the other day that the first load of 400 people is now ready to go. But when you consider that a few thousand across this channel every day, is 400 is a small drop in the bucket, isn't it? In fact, I would say that if you were among those caught to go to Rwanda, you're very unlucky. Just 400 out of a few thousand. But yeah, that has a lot to do with the total population and unemployment figures.
Well, it's not just illegal immigration; it's also legal immigration that's skyrocketed in the last 30 years as well.
Well, that's true as well. Now let's see if we.
What else have we got?
Well,
what else can we got?
I'm just looking. We should have a couple more things to perhaps look at here. All we've got is promos there. So I think.
Food bank one? How long's that?
Yes, if it's playable. This was just to highlight, and particularly since you've raised unemployment and poverty and so on and so forth. This is before Christmas, last Christmas, we did a special on the food bank, and in fact, the gentleman who is heading this particular item works here at the White Hart. So let's see if, in fact, it will play.
Should they?
My name's Mark Perryman. I've lived in Lewes for about a decade. I'd never really been involved in, I guess, what people would call community campaigning before. I'd always been interested in politics, making a difference, but the coronavirus crisis made me want to do something. And I've kind of been an event organiser since I was a student, so I've got a kind of organisational mind, and I came up with this idea of an all-day food bank collection, which we started at Waitrose on Easter Saturday, and it really grew from there. We started off at one supermarket, and then I contacted the cricket club, Lewes Priory Cricket Club, and I said to Peter, I said, would you come in your whites? He said, yeah, we're coming on whites. Well, they turned up outside Waitrose in whites, pads, padded gloves, helmet, visors down. And so everybody who was going to Waitrose knew that Lewes Priory Cricket Club cared about food poverty, and that's what switched in my mind. I thought, why don't we create not a kind of coalition which is like a committee, but a public and visual coalition. So on our Saturdays, we have 9 sports clubs, 7 bonfire societies, 4 churches, free political parties, bands, musicians, artists, poets, keep fit fanatics, chefs, a yoga group, a book group, through the whole day. And we've expanded across all 3 supermarkets, Aldi, Tesco's and Waitrose. It's an extraordinary visual coalition of a town that cares. And also, we're saying food poverty exists in this town, in this wonderful town of ours. There is food poverty, and that stretches to childhood malnutrition. Of course, we shouldn't have to do something about this. We're the 6th richest economy in the world, for goodness sake. We shouldn't have to have food bank. And this is where I get quite emotional. In '84, I was out collecting tins of food for striking miners. And when people say, sorry, I always well up at this. When people say, what are you doing this for? I say, because now we're having to collect food for our neighbours. You know, that's the state that we're in. Obviously, that's been created by the coronavirus crisis, but don't go away with the impression it's going to get any better next year, because then there will be the redundancies and the mass unemployment. And so this is a desperate need. Of course, we shouldn't need to have to collect for food banks, but in the here and now, you know, I wanted to stop people being starved back to work. I want to stop people having to starve through Christmas. So, and we're making a difference. We're making a massive difference in this town. We enter each item of food that's been collected. The food bank gives us a list of 24 items they need. So we're not only collecting quantity, it's quality. So we can lift people's morale, lift their health as well. Then we have a very complicated system of delivery to 3 different food banks, Lamport, Mallings and Fitzjohn's, all through the day. Some of them have different needs to others. What we do is we ensure that each food bank gets a third from Tesco's, a third from Aldi, a third from Waitrose. People start by going out on their Saturday shop, and we ask them to add 1 item to their shopping list. Lots of people are generous and they add considerably more, but all we're asking is for 1 item, and that adds up to 5,661 items by the end of the day. And then we have our secret shoppers. We will raise something in the region of £700 through donations. People who can't come out on the day, can't help, they're not shopping, they'd like us to collect something. Our secret shoppers go into the supermarkets, and because we've recorded everything's been donated, we see, oh, we're a bit short of coffee, we're a bit short of bars of chocolate, we're a bit short of cereals, and we bump that up. Lewes is a town full of sounds, isn't it? We've got 13 choirs, we've got brass bands, we've got ska, we've got folk, we've got 7 panto casts. They're going to be there collecting, and they're going to be singing, "He's behind you," "No, he's not," "Yes, he is." You know, there'll be all of that. And it's another symbol of a town coming together. We will be socially distanced, we will be wearing masks and visors, and we'll be keeping back. But just to remind people that, you know, the spirit of Christmas is needed more than ever.
There we go.
There we go. And now it is 11:05. So we are now drifting down towards the time that we say goodbye at 11:30, but we still have a good 25 minutes to chat. So Max, what else is? Forget the newspapers now. What have you come across in the week that you've been chatting to anybody about that you've said, "Oh heck"? Probably stronger than that, but oh heck.
Everything that's sort of taken up the news is the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard thing, but I don't know a whole lot about that. What's going on with those two in court?
Is this Johnny Depp?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, apparently, as I understand it, it's a domestic dispute, and they are claiming that they thumped one another. Are they not?
Yeah, he's claiming he was abused. She's claiming she was abused.
Yes,
but they were both on coke, so it's probably both true.
But this isn't a civil case, is it? This is a criminal
liable,
case.
Criminal and liable because
one has been charged, and the other is saying the other is telling porkies. Is that right?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Did you know which is which?
Everyone, yes, it's Johnny Depp, I would say, because have you seen any of the Amber Heard trial stuff?
No, I haven't. I'm not
Well,
really that
she's been
interested.
fake crying on the stand, and she was crying at one point, and then she looked over to her camera. She was crying. She stopped. She stayed still and had the tissue under her eye like this for like 10 seconds. And then you see the flash of the camera go off, and then she continues talking. It's like, okay, this is all.
Well, in fairness, they are actors, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, if it is the case that they're both actors, so who knows which one is lying, because they're actors. They're what they do. That's what they do for a living.
I mean, to me, if we look at the wider issues, I don't know whether you have either a feel for it or any. Cheers. Good luck.
See ya.
Whether you have any feel for it or whether you have any specific statistics, but let's get down to domestic abuse, which apparently was on the increase because of COVID.
Yeah, people were at home a lot more. People were drinking. People were getting stressed out, and then they would beat their wives.
Right. Do you have any feel for what you've read or what you know? There was a huge increase, a little increase. It was about the same
There was
level.
a big increase. There was, and there's always a massive, massive increase when England loses the Football World Cup or Euros. There's a ginormous spike in domestic abuse calls when they lose.
So the fans take it out on their wives or their families or whatever. Yeah. Wow.
Not just domestic, not just like wife beating their kids as well. Like, I have to find the actual statistics, but it's a big spike every single time. It's not an anomaly. It is. They are just.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Did you not know that?
No.
Oh, wow.
I mean, to be quite honest with you, is domestic abuse is something that I haven't had much to do with for a long, long time. What I do have a little bit to do with is mental health. I mean, one would say, well, don't be such a silly question, Keith. But how closely allied mental health issues with domestic abuse issues? Is there a correlation of the figures?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there is. I don't have the statistics in front of me.
No.
I can't confirm it, but I know there definitely is.
Yeah. That worries me a little bit.
I can't say too much about it, but I do know a person who was abused badly, and I saw them afterwards, like a couple of days afterwards. Their face was all swollen, black and blue. She got beaten. She got beaten bad, and her boyfriend went to prison for a year.
Oh, did he?
He came out of prison. They immediately started their relationship again, got back together.
Yeah. Well, we do know that this is quite often the case. That somebody will be badly abused. They call the police. And incidentally, the one thing I do know from working with police forces as a younger journalist is that no copper likes going to a domestic abuse case, because quite often what happens is that the two are belting one another, and one calls the police. Right? I mean, you can imagine the scenario. You hit me one more time, and I'm going to phone the police. There, you hit me, but police, right? And the policeman gets there. And they've calmed down a little bit. And apparently what happens is that the two people who are abusing each other, is the tensions are still running high, and they turn on the policeman. So the policeman becomes the center of their anger, and they start to abuse the policeman instead of each other. It is a strange phenomenon.
I'm sure the same thing happens, not just with police officers, but with kids as well.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Abuse is and the fact is, to some extent, it is a bit medieval, isn't it? it's whoever the abuser is. And let's face it happens the other way around too, that women abuse men. It's all a bit medieval to me, in as much as they seem in that moment of madness to feel that they have the right to do that to a partner. That they're my partner, and I can do what I like. I will lather them. But it's only quite recently, when I say quite recently, within about 70 years, the whole concept of a woman has independence from a man has come into law.
When did your wife first get married?
1973.
Did she, in those, like back then, did she have a job, a stay-at-home wife?
She had a job.
Was your mum a stay-at-home wife?
No, she wasn't.
No?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I heard that was unusual to have both parents working.
Yeah, it was. But the interesting thing is that, and COVID is the assessment will eventually be made. But there were two, up until the First World War, it was very usual for there being two classes of people: those who had domestic servants and domestic servants. And every household, even just a bank clerk and so on, would have at least perhaps two servants. So that's how the economy ticked. Then the men went off to war, and the women who stay at home or in domestic service started to do other things. They started to become telephonists. They started to work in factories and so on. And when the men came back, they weren't that keen on going back to the old ways. So there was a fair change in the Second World War, First World War.
Yeah,
leading up to the Second World War, the domestics were less, but they were still in evidence. But at the end of the Second World War, women just wanted equal rights. So from the turn of the century down to 1946, 47, there was a great deal of change in the attitude of women. It's getting away from the abuse issue for a moment, but that's how these things changed. And it would appear that one of the things that is going to happen as a result of COVID is that the attitude towards women in the workplace is going to change yet again. And
in what way?
Well, for instance, far more women in the boardroom, far more women in responsible positions.
I think that's also, I need to be careful how I word this, but I think that's also a manufactured thing. I think there's a lot of initiatives for women need to be higher up in the workforce. People of color need to be higher up in the workforce. LGBT people need to be higher up in the workforce, just to have more diversity.
Yes, but this is where I would disagree with you, in as much as I am all for diversity, but I don't think that diversity should be king. I don't want to be run, and I think there's a lot of this, by people because they are diverse. I want to be steered, whether it's at the top or the things that people do, by people who can do.
Who are competent.
Yes. My famous statement is, we've got 650 MPs. I don't care whether all 650 are black, lesbian, Jews or whatever. It makes no difference to me. What we've tried to do is to say we'll have a little of this and a little of that, and that doesn't work, because what you're busy doing is you're filling ratios rather than filling places with the people that work. Now, the argument against that is that quite often people who come out of the elite organisations like Eton and Harrow and Oxford and Cambridge they are, by virtue of our present system of measurement, the best, apparently on paper anyway, the best for the job. So other people are left behind, and you have to be very careful of that.
Another thing with this whole diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense is that we need to hire. We need to hire a black person on our team to be diverse. Whatever happened to judging people on the content of their character and not the color of their skin?
Exactly.
What happened to that? Why are we throwing that out of the window? Is that going to start getting normalized?
Well, you see, let me be controversial too, because I refused and still do to drop the knee.
No, I agree.
I have absolutely no. I mean, I'm the one person that you will meet without knowingly having isms. I just simply accept everybody as they are and let them prove to me what they are.
Yeah.
I don't look at the color of their skin. I don't care whether they're gay. I don't care whether they belong to some strange religion or whatever. What I want to know is, can they do the job and can they do it competently?
Yes.
After that, is if you have to take into consideration any of the other issues, by all means do. But that is the way I think that things should go. But we don't do that in a society. And you're quite right. What we do is we actually highlight the fact that these prejudices exist.
No, I think that's what we used to do. I don't think that's going to be the way anymore. I think we used to judge people based on how good they were. I think it's a lot of it now is not the content of your character, but are you gay? Are you black? Are you this or that? That's more important than being competent.
I think
and it's in law now as well. You have to have, if you say you have in this country, it's I think 400 employees. You have to have a black person. You have to have a disabled person.
Yeah.
You're going to start seeing that become less and less. It's going to be 200. It's going to be 100. It's going to be 50. There are even some states in America where it's mandated to have a black board member, a member of the board.
Yes. Well, you see, once again, I don't understand how you can argue for a free market if, in fact, you're telling people who they should appoint.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not only black people, but union people. There must be a union executive on the board, and all that seems to me to crimp everybody's style. If in fact we can create a society, and perhaps it's Shangri-La, perhaps we can't do it, where we just accept people for their abilities, then all these other issues would go out of the window.
Yeah, now you have to do these diversity and inclusion trainings. My granddad was telling me about he had to do one for work, where they had I think it was like 2-3 hours discussion on diversity and inclusion and pronouns. They are making it mandatory to have your pronouns in your username or your email. So he, him, she, her.
What do you mean by pronouns?
Do you not know what pronouns are?
No.
Oh, you're one lucky man. You don't know any of this yet.
No.
So
these are things that are creeping up out of college. That's why it's good to have you on these programs.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee if I don't know,
I can tell you
there are thousands of people out there that don't know. Right?
No. Well, so pronouns. So if if you're a man, you say he, him. If you're a female, you say she, her. Everyone gets that, but you have to put that in your username now on your emails, because you might not be a man. You might identify as a they or a z or a them. You might identify as non-binary or this or that, or he, they, if you don't feel like a man some days.
God help us.
Yes.
God help us. We really do twist ourselves into some strange situations, don't we? But actually, one of the things that I find frightening is that we meet, we socialize less and less.
Yes.
Now in the workplace, you come in here.
Now they want you
we
to
work
work from
together,
home. Yeah.
right? Yeah. We could say to you, well, just work on the internet and so on and so forth. And so we don't get that interaction. We couldn't do a program of this sort where the two of us are bouncing off one another.
I mean, even with like when someone else is on the end of the camera, there's always a delay, so it's never a free flowing conversation because you'll interrupt someone, and a couple of seconds later you'll actually start talking because there's a delay, and it just becomes not very personal. It's just interrupting. It's not the same as being next to someone, obviously.
No, and I think that the whole point of personal contact is going through the window, and it shouldn't, because people will understand less and less. And in my view, that's when you start to get domestic abuse, because you don't understand your partner. Crazy, absolutely crazy. Right, okay, we are now into 11:23. Only 6 more minutes left in our program. We've had a very good rollicking program this morning, right from the time that we started. So well done, Max. Thank you. This was your show. You've raised some good issues. We've had some good chats. We eventually, hopefully, will get people who will phone in and join us in the debate.
Just before we go, so this is the sort of person that would have he, they pronouns for this guy. This pregnant man that we were talking about earlier,
right?
He would be the one, right? Yeah. So this guy, he would be most likely identify as a they, them, or a he, they, because sometimes he doesn't feel like a man; he feels like a woman some days.
Right.
But he's a man who's giving.
So he can switch, can he?
Yeah.
He can come on to you and say.
There are people who are gender fluid who switch in between conversations. So like, oh, right now I'm a woman. I'm just deciding that.
I'm glad I'm not going to.
You have to call me Maxine.
Dear. Okay, let's wrap up, Max. 11:24. The newspaper front pages this morning were almost exclusively about the WAG trial and about an MP, which the papers kept on describing as a Tory MP, who is, and that shows bias in itself, is charged with rape. No name, no pack drill, as they say, and we don't know anymore. I find it disappointing that at a time when we've got galloping inflation, we've got the government trying to look at how they can stop the cost of living rise. We have got a war in Ukraine, which carries on and is a war of attrition. We have all sorts of things. We have, which we did only very, very briefly touched on this morning, and which will come roaring back to the front, is the question of immigration, illegal and otherwise. So there are lots of things that are going on, and all we can do is get in the newspaper front pages wags and rape. And that to me is very disappointing. How about you?
I don't know a single person who cares about the Wayne Rooney's wife thing. I have not met a single person who actually cares about that yet.
Yeah, no. And actually, perhaps what it shows is that the way that some of our stars, whether they're sports stars or film stars or whatever, look at themselves isn't the way that we ordinary people look at them, and that perhaps they've got to start to do some rethinking as well. It's very easy to get carried away with oh gosh, they recognize me and they recognize my talent, and that will always be so. But we have to be very careful that we don't get a little phone call there with somebody who doesn't know that we go right on to the bitter end to 11:30. and 11:27 it is. So I think what we will do is we will, having looked at the two headlines, there are one or two other things that have cropped up on the latest news. And the biggest one, I think, is that inflation has reached 9% and looks as if it's going to tipple over to double figures. And that is going to have the biggest impact on everything, what the government does, on taxes, on the rate that money is borrowed. Max tells me that there is some evidence that the banks say that they're in trouble and they expect the government to bail them out.
No, I don't think the banks would be lying to us. I think they're very truthful people. They're not lying at all.
You know, you've got great faith in banks, have you?
Oh, yeah. They're the most trustworthy people, bankers, aren't they?
No. In fact, most bankers aren't bankers anymore. You're dealing with a computer. And I have no trust in computers whatsoever. None. Yes, we need them to help us. But what mankind has done is they've switched. They flipped the coin. So in fact, what they're doing is they're running us. And that's, once again, laziness, not going into the office and so on. Let the computer do it. That is not acceptable in our society. Not at all acceptable. 11:29. We'll say goodbye.
Thanks for watching.
Sorry?
Thanks for watching.
Yes, thank you for watching. You've been watching Mirador Television out of Lewes in the United Kingdom, East Sussex, but also out of the White Hart Hotel, which it says outside was the cradle of American independence, because the revolutionary Tom Paine made much of his work here and developed his theories about the rights of man. So there you are. That's where we are. We shall be back tomorrow morning again with who knows what we'll be on or in. Max will be motoring on with various things. He's already got another little documentary, and you've seen one of his ready. So we'll try and make it as varied and different as we possibly can. So for the moment, toodle pip. Say toodle pip.
Goodbye, toodle pip.
Bye.